I'm currently cleaning out a bunch of stuff that's built up over the years. You know, downsizing, prepping to move, that sort of thing. And I found this envelope buried at the bottom of a junk drawer in my studio. These are the Forspoken premium character cards, the pre-order rewards for the infamous flop game Forspoken from back in 2023. Yes, I pre-ordered it. It was for streaming it, alright? I don't actually like this game, if the main channel video didn't tell you that. But these are technically collector's items. They're 3 thick metal cards, with associated stands if you want to display them for some reason, portraying Frey, Cuff, and Tantasila. I was honestly just going to toss them away, but people in the Discord kept saying, "No, Dev, even if it's Forspoken, it's probably worth something, you should eBay it." Well, it turns out there's tons of these things kicking around on eBay, languishing away at $15 a set. Even if a company might label it collector's edition or limited edition or whatever, doesn't actually mean anybody wants this slop. I might be able to eventually get the $15 for this garbage, but honestly, I just don't think it's worth my time. And I certainly don't care enough about Forspoken as a game to hold on to these any longer. So I think I'm just gonna toss them out. And then I realized that junk drawer that I was cleaning out, it's literally just a bottomless pit of merch I've gotten over the years. Some of it is pre-order bonus stuff. Some of it is stuff that companies have sent me as a YouTuber. And some of it is just random junk. So, since most of this is probably on its way to the landfill, let's take one last look at it for old time's sake. First up is this Borderlands pin box. This used to contain a set of pins for all the gun companies in Borderlands. The pins are long gone and for some reason the box is still around. I don't recall exactly where I got this, but the copyright on it says 2015, which means the most recent game was the pre-sequel back then. This may have been a pre-order bonus for that game, since I do recall pre-ordering it. I loved Borderlands 2 back in the day. As for where the pins went, they were actually attached to multiple hats and bags over the years. I don't know where they are now, but I think a lot of them ended up breaking over time. Oh, now this I remember very well. This is a Pokemon branded miniature deck of cards. Each card has a different Pokemon on it. This is all Generation 1 artwork because this is pure 90s era Pokemon merch. First run. I think I actually got this in my Christmas stocking when I was a kid. I remember keeping it around long into high school because one of the things that we would do is play cards in the cafeteria, or we'd sneak off to unused classrooms sometimes. And it got so bad that teachers began confiscating decks of cards found on students. So I actually started bringing this tiny deck to school just because it was easier to hide. And hey, I got away with it since I've still got them now. Here's a red deck. It's literally the exact same thing, except the cards are red instead of green. That's it. There's no Pokemon-esque gimmick of each color of deck only has some of the cards, and you gotta trade to get a full deck. That would have sucked. Nope, I guess Nintendo just sold the decks in different colors because Pokemon had different colors. I think one of these decks was in my stocking, and the other was in my sister's, but I just ended up with both of them in the end. That happens sometimes, you know. When kids grow up and move out, sometimes the stuff they end up with isn't strictly theirs. For example, my sister ended up with a set of Archie fridge magnets that were absolutely mine when I was younger. It's just how these things go. Now these cards are actually more interesting. This deck is called the Playing Cards of Legend, and this is Fangamer merch. I've done a few merch-related things with Fangamer over the years. They make pretty high-quality and creative stuff, and this one is a Zelda-themed deck of cards. The Jokers are Skull Kid, the 4 suits are Hearts for Hearts, Rupees for Diamonds, Swords for Spades, and Triforces for Clubs. And each suit has a different Zelda character depicted on their face cards, which is pretty cool if you ask me. And speaking of cards, I've got a bunch of character cards in here. Oftentimes, when you buy a physical edition of a game, or a plush or something, they'll toss in a card like this. These are 2 No More Heroes cards from the physical releases of the No More Heroes 1 and 2 remasters. This is a Stardew Valley Shane card, which came with the official Shane plush, which I bought for Naomi at some point. And then there's a whole bunch of Borderlands 2 gun cards. I initially thought these were for a Borderlands card game or something, but no, they're literally just cards with codes on them, where if you punch them into Borderlands 2 or Borderlands the pre-sequel, you get the gun in-game. I have no idea where these came from, frankly. I don't remember buying them or even being given them. Maybe they're Alan's, that guy that used to live with Dave before he started living with me. And maybe they just got lost in all the moves over the years and eventually got shuffled over to me. Who knows? This is a coin with a dragon on it. I have no idea what it is or what it's from, but I do know that a viewer, whose name I forget, I'm sorry, gave it to me at one point. So thank you for that. Oh, my old Pokewalker is in here too. The Pokewalker was a cool little device attached to the Generation 4 remakes of the Gen 2 Pokemon games, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Back in the day, this thing would wirelessly connect to your Nintendo DS, and you could transfer a Pokemon to it. You could then walk around because it was a step counter, and the more steps you took, the more experience your Pokemon would gain. It's also possible to encounter other Pokemon and items on the device, which you could then transfer back to the main game. It was a cool idea, and I do recall using it back in the day. In fact, I still might have a Pokemon on here, unless the data is deleted when the battery's wiped, because this thing is long dead. This is a fidget spinner. A fan gave it to me as a joke about autism. You know who you are. Now, I know exactly what these things are. In Overwatch, the character Mei has a floating ice robot named Snowball. I bought Naomi a Snowball plush years ago. The plush has the ability to change its expression by swapping out these Velcro faceplates. And I guess the junk drawer was where she eventually ended up putting the other faceplates. Nothing too mysterious this time, but she does still have the plush, so maybe she wants to hold on to these. This is the pre-order bonus for Princess Peach Showtime, the platformer on Switch. It's laid out like a program book, since the entire game takes place in a theater. It's pretty neat, but to be honest, this is almost identical to an instruction booklet that actually came with every game back in the 90s and 2000s. The fact that this is a pre-order bonus just goes to show what kind of a sorry state the industry is in right now. The age of excitedly reading the instruction book of the new game you just got in the back of your car while your parents drive you home is long over. Same thing here. This is the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom pre-order bonus, and this one is literally just a thick cardboard print of the box art with a shiny border around it. Nothing to write home about here. Echoes of Wisdom was fun enough, but it just didn't pull me in enough to get me to keep playing it, which is rare for a Zelda game. It's my favorite series. I guess a lot of game companies in the modern era love giving out junk like this for their pre-order bonuses, because this is the Hogwarts Legacy pre-order bonus for PS5, a tin print of the box art. Now I know why this stuff ended up at the bottom of a junk drawer. Oh, this is kind of neat. These are paper clips with these little foam nubbins attached of a Metroid and an Octorok respectively. These come from Eyes 5, a Vancouver-based plush maker who I've bought stuff from time to time. She's actually pretty cool, and ever since blowing up, she's been tapped to do the official Hollow Knight plushes, which is really awesome. Good for her. This is the Star Trek 50th Anniversary Convention lanyard. I'm not a super big con head or anything, but I have been to a handful of conventions over the years, and when Star Trek's 50th came around, I remember there were different events all over North America. I recall eventually picking up some replica phasers that ended up sitting on different windowsills and mantles over the years and between various moves, and I apparently kept the lanyard. Who would have thought? Okay, if you recall what this is, you are officially Unk status like me. Back in the 90s, we had these things called rental stores, Blockbuster being the most famous, where you could rent movies or video games for like a couple bucks a day. NES and SNES games would often come in hard plastic shells like these. I have no idea why I have this thing. Might also be a holdover from Alan, but I do know what I keep stored inside of it nowadays. Old coins. Yes, I truly am an Unk. Anytime I'd go on a trip and end up with loose change, I just toss it in here, and I guess it's built up over the years. There's American coins, Chinese coins, even an Australian coin in here. But there's also a large Star Trek medal in here. I don't know what this is from exactly, but I'm guessing it was also from the 50th anniversary con. The date is right. There's a bendy rubber one too. This is the Super Mario Galaxy pre-order coin. I pre-ordered Galaxy on the Wii back in 2007 when I was still a university student, and I recall thinking it was kind of weird that they were giving out coins rather than hats. For example, Square Enix games often have hats at the pre-order bonus, but this is an original first-run Galaxy coin. I doubt it's worth anything, but it is kind of cool. And this is the same thing for Zelda Twilight Princess. I pre-ordered TP and I got this coin for it. It always bugged me that even though this is an official piece of Nintendo merch, they use the Ocarina of Time link on it rather than the Twilight Princess link. Come on, guys. This is just a counter. That's what you'd use for Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! I played a lot of those games when I was a kid, and I had a lot of counters kicking around too. I guess this random one just ended up here. These are old Toronto Transit tokens. I don't even know if they still use these. It's been that long since I've had to take a subway or a bus or a streetcar in Toronto. The TTC is probably the worst transit system I've ever had the displeasure of using, and even if these coins still work, I'd be happy to never have to spend them. Oh man, after a quick lookup, apparently these TTC tokens were phased out a while ago, and remaining ones are considered collector's items. They're still not selling enough for me to care though. And finally, these are arcade tokens. I might be old, but the golden age of arcades was before my time. Back in the 80s, arcades were the place to be as a kid. You'd have older kids muscling in on younger kids to get the best games. You'd call dibs by slapping a quarter onto the machine. It sounds like fun, but all of that sort of stuff was long gone by the time I came around. Consoles and PCs in the home largely killed the arcade, but there were still a few kicking around here and there throughout the 90s and 2000s. And there were a few instances in my youth when I killed some time playing the games there, with a handful of arcade tokens in tow. The last arcades that I actually recall seeing was in the late 2000s and early 2010s, and they usually consisted of 2 to 3 cabinets, stuffed away in the corner of a bus terminal or a hotel lobby, and the games almost never actually functioned, mainly because people just didn't care anymore. The company that these tokens are from absolutely still exists. In fact, it's the same company that runs the theater that Naomi and I watch movies at occasionally. But, just like with TTC tokens, there's no way they're still accepting these things. Anyway, that's all the junk in the junk drawer. I know some of these things still have resale value, but frankly, it's so low, it's honestly not even worth trying. I think a fair bit of the stuff will ultimately end up in the trash once I'm done cleaning. I'm going to keep the case full of coins, those actually might be useful someday, and I'll hold on to the more sentimental items like the lanyard or the Pokewalker. But honestly, I think a lot of this stuff just has to go. I've been holding on to a lot of clutter from previous eras of my life that, at this point, it just makes no sense to keep around anymore. Sometimes the best way to move on from things is to close a door permanently, you know? You burn bridges so you don't walk back over them, that sort of thing. But hey, it was at least pretty fun going on this one last trip down memory lane with you guys. So, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Have a good one. I love you.